life is hanging in the balance. That is literally one of the cases we're handling right now as I speak, and it's a very important case because we're dealing with the sanctity of human life. We're going to talk to one of our attorneys handling this case in the second half of the show. But the first half of the show, I want to address whether there's a problem, whether there's any kind of a harm with regards to giving transgender ideology to young children, particularly in public schools, as we see happening more and more in states like California. To talk about this, we have an expert, Dr. Michelle Cretella. Dr. Michelle Cretella is the president of the American College of Pediatricians, and I'd like to welcome her on the program and just start off by just asking, Michelle, first off, the American College of Pediatricians, what exactly is this organization? Is it something that you just recently made up, or does it actually represent a good number of actual pediatricians across the country?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having me on the program. The American College of Pediatricians is exactly what its name implies. We're a national organization of pediatricians and other child health professionals from across the nation. We are not political or religious. To belong to us, you must be a board-certified or otherwise licensed child health professional. The vast majority are practicing pediatricians, but we also have some who are family practice physicians with large child population they serve, as well as therapists. And we started in 2002. We now have approaching 600 members.
Right. Wow. 600 members. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you have no political mandate. You don't have to be a part of a party. You don't have to be a particular faith.
Right.
Why were you guys formed? What holds you guys together, and why are you growing throughout the country?
Sure. So essentially, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the
right.
larger organization of pediatricians, was the only one in existence until 2002, and they're roughly 85, 87 years old now.
Right, and everyone becomes a pediatrician sort of automatically becomes a part of that. So it's not like everyone necessarily believes in it. They just sort of become a part of it. So like the American Bar Association or the State Bar Association for lawyers. Okay.
Exactly. And so the American College of Pediatricians was formed by a core group of Academy members. So pediatricians who were in leadership positions within the Academy of Pediatrics realized that increasingly from 1973, when we had the Roe v. Wade decision, on forward, the Academy was moving in lockstep with political correctness, in lockstep with the sexual revolution, as opposed to what science showed is truly best for children.
Right. And we've seen some changes in the DMS-4 or DMS-5, modifying things, not according to science or in terms of psychiatry, but in accordance with the politics of the day. It's very disturbing. So you got these pediatricians together, some family therapists, family doctors, dealing with a lot of children. They got together and they said, okay, we need to readdress these issues responsibly.
We need to come together with, first of all, we want to adhere to Hippocratic medicine. Okay, the scientific fact that human life begins at fertilization. That's where our patients begin, and they need protection. And this goes back to Hippocrates.
Right.
So that's the moral foundation, and we are accepting. We do not discriminate against families or patients. We serve one and all in a way that is true to science.
Right.
So Hippocratic medicine, true to science, and we do not discriminate against our patients or families.
I have so much respect for you and your organization, but I also know that your organization was one of the ones out there that was labeled a hate group by the far left extremist wacko Southern Poverty Law Center. I have to admit I'm a little biased because they also targeted Pacific Justice Institute along with other churches and ministries across the country. I guess the reason they're targeting you is because you're not going along with their leftist agenda, but staying true to the Hippocratic Oath and the science and medicine of the day.
Right, correct. I mean, what really got the left riled against us is that in 2002, the Academy of Pediatrics came out in favor of same-sex parenting, even as they admitted that the science was poor. And that's when, and in fact, when the Academy came out in favor of same-sex parenting, admitted the science was poor, the Academy's own bioethics section was against the board. Their own bioethics section said, look, the science isn't here. This is politics. You guys should not promote this, should not publish this. They did anyway.
Right. They did anyway. And so
the membership, reacted, and the board of the AAP did not care.
Right.
So that's when our core group said, you know what, we've been trying since 1973 to put science at the forefront. This isn't working. We need our own group. But what the left did was, oh, hey, they're against same-sex parenting. This is pure bigotry. So that's how we got the label. And
right, because because truth is your compass. Truth is your focus, based on professional scientific theory, modern medicine, psychiatric studies, not politics and feelings. So I totally respect that. Now let's get right into the issue at hand. Yeah. We have school districts pushing transgender ideology on children. We had a case similar to this, similar to this up in Sacramento, Rockland area, charter school academy with young kindergartners. Tell me, why do you think it is not appropriate or harmful, if you will, for children to have transgender ideology taught to them as it's picking up so quickly in states like California? Okay,
so very simply, when we teach this in the public schools, in the media, et cetera, we are disrupting normal psychological development of children. We are encouraging children to believe a lie that you can be trapped in the wrong body. And this is a dangerous lie because it will lead many of them down a medical pathway of puberty blockers and toxic cross-sex hormones and irreversible surgeries, such as a double mastectomy as a teenager.
Wow.
So this is psychologically and medically the equivalent of child abuse.
Of child abuse. That's what your organization has come out. It's strong language.
Yeah.
And yet you obviously have studies showing that these children that have this procedure done or are led into this, affirmed, if you will, with regard to the gender identity dysphoria, that the outcome is not that great. But what are the stats on that? What happens to someone who is affirmed and into this transgenderism and lifestyle?
So the first thing to understand is that there actually are no good outcome studies. This is all new, and this is what's most important to understand. We are currently, right now, engaged in a massive social and medical experiment on innocent children and innocent families.
Right. And once again,
we are coming from now. The opponents of this now, those who are promoting it are telling the media that, oh, hey, science supports this. We are preventing suicides. Lie. There is absolutely no science that proves that cooperating with mental confusion, divorcing children from their biological bodies, there's no proof that reduces suicide.
Right, and I heard of one study that shows that the average the average transgender will not live to see their 30th birthday because of depression, suicide, and that applies even if they're in a quote transgender-friendly community, like say San Francisco. So it's because the other side comes back and says, well, it's because environmental. We need to all just embrace it and affirm it. But and they need to have love and compassion, and understanding. But the reality is it's very deadly, very deadly. And whether or not they're in an affirming community or non-affirming community, it's still very deadly. Right. And your studies, I guess the one out of the University of Texas and other studies have affirmed that. And
we know what happens to the adults. Adults who undergo the hormone therapy and the surgery, even in Sweden, which is the most transgender and gay affirming culture in the world, or one of the most, that initially these adults feel better and they feel happier. But by 10 years out, their rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide are climbing. By 30 years out, these adults who've undergone these permanent hormone and surgery changes have a suicide rate 19, almost 20 times greater than the general population.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's tremendous. I know a transgender friend of mine who's I've visited with a number of times, and he affirmed that same point. He says people think they'll have a surgery, everything's going to be fine, all the pain's going to go away. He said, but a new kind of pain comes on that he has to deal with every day, every day. And so it's the unfortunately political correctness, the media is painting this big false picture of have this done, you'll be happy. And they're really not being honest and upfront. Your organization pushes that honesty, and I really encourage that.
Right. Yeah.
They also, the other side comes back and says, well, gender identity dysphoria, it's who they are, it's their identity, it's who they're destined to be. First, there's nothing biological about what we're talking about, and we're not talking about those rare, what's called adrenal insensitivity syndrome.
Disorders of sex development.
Yeah,
or
that's
intersex.
Yeah, that's a totally different ballgame.
Category.
Very, 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 very minute. What we're talking about is gender identity dysphoria, and in fact that is not biological, and in fact can flip back and forth, and most, if left alone at the childhood level, will actually deal with and resolve the dysphoria by the time they reach full adulthood. Is that a correct assessment, doctor?
Yes, that's correct. Children prior to puberty who feel or believe that they are not their biological sex, the vast majority, up to, in fact, if you look at the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of the American Psychiatric Association, based on their own statistics, as many as 98% of gender-confused boys will accept their biological sex by late adolescence, young adulthood.
Wow. Okay, and that's the facts, and that's the truth.
Right.
That's what I like. As an attorney, I like truth. I don't like people spinning things that are not the truth.
Right.
Just give me the truth. Give me the reality, and let's deal with it. Dr. Michelle Cretella, I really appreciate you. Once again, you're the president of the American College of Pediatricians. If people want to become a part of this, they want to look at your information, your resources, I highly recommend it, folks. Highly recommend it. Where do they go? And if they're a doctor or a family therapist, they want to become a part of it, where do they go?
So the best place, our website, bestforchildren.org, bestforchildren.org, and we have links to our position statements. Look for our gender identity page.
Great. Excellent. Thank you once again. Keep up the great work, and thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Take care.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And folks, if you decide to support the Pacific Justice Institute on either a one-time or even better yet, a regular monthly basis, we have a wonderful gift for you. It's a book. It's a hardbound, autographed book by Mike Huckabee, former Governor Mike Huckabee, and it's called God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. It's a very eye-opening book about America, where we are, and where we may be headed if we make the right decisions. I know you'll find it really interesting. It's a wonderful gift. Once again, it's Mike Huckabee's book, God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. It's a hardbound book autographed by former Governor Mike Huckabee, and it's our gift to you if you become a part of the team of the Pacific Justice Institute. That's how we have our support. That's how we're able to do what we do, is because of people out there like you who see what we're doing, and they don't want to just be on the sidelines. They want to become a part of what we're doing, and no donation is too small. Your support is highly appreciated. Of course, we also appreciate prayer support as well. If you want to become part of our special Prayer Warriors team, go to our website and let our office know that, and we'll be happy to add you to that as well. Finally, before we go to the next segment, I also want to remind those of you out there that we have our big celebration of justice coming up. It's October the 28th. It's at the Grand California Disney Hotel. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's our 20th anniversary celebration of justice. We have Dr. Laura Ingram, who's going to be our keynote, being very upfront with where America is and the challenges we're facing. We're also going to have Greg Laurie, Pastor Greg Laurie. He's going to be participating. And we're also going to have Todd Starnes as the MC. You'll see his commentaries, his op-eds all the time on foxnews.com. It's going to be absolutely a fantastic event. It's a great opportunity to introduce people to the work of Pacific Justice Institute. Once again, go to our website, pacificjustice.org, pacificjustice.org. Now, we have with us on the line our chief counsel, Kevin Snider. He's been actively involved in a case literally where a man's life is on the line. Not theoretically, not figuratively, literally on the line. Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Now, Kevin, first give a sort of a background to the audience as to what we're talking about here. This is a grown man who is right now on life support. How did this happen, and where are we?
He's a construction worker, retired construction worker. He had a heart attack and went to the hospital. And after a number of back and forth with the medical staff, giving conflicting information, they said that eventually that he was brain dead. Well, the family had spoken with this man in years past, and he's a fighter, and said that if he's ever in this kind of situation, he wants them to fight for him. So, seeing that there's a medical conflict, the family thought they had a moral and spiritual obligation to give him the benefit of the medical doubt.
Now, you say benefit of the medical doubt. I mean, the average person, when we hear someone's brain dead, that means they're dead, and it is protocol and customary to go ahead and take off life support because they're no longer there, the brain's not working. Do we have any evidence or perspective to the contrary here, or is the issue one of the hospital not providing evidence themselves to really validate their determination adequately?
Yeah, there's several things. One is that brain death is not biological death. That's a fiction out there, and in California law clearly says that. It gives two definitions of death. One is biological, and one is brain death. A person who is brain dead can be biologically alive, but a person who is biologically alive cannot be brain dead. And so there's been numerous cases around the world that we've just looked in newspaper articles that people have been declared brain dead, and they have a level of recovery, either small or full recovery.
Right.
And so the truth of the matter is the medical community has overplayed its hand on this.
Right. Overplayed its hand because they haven't done the proper testing, or they've done the testing and we see that there is some neurological activity in the brain.
Sometimes it's both, depending on the case. And in this case, we're seeing situations where the doctors have said, some doctors will say one thing, other doctors will say another. And then the hospital did declare him eventually brain dead. But they're supposed to have two tests, but they only gave him one test. And then recently he's been, in response to his son, has his eyes slightly open and will raise his eyebrows at the directive of his son.
Wow.
So that gives us concern that at least it calls into question that they may have misdiagnosed him.
Right. And once again, there are many circumstances in history where people have been pronounced, quote, brain dead, and now they're up and around and walking and active, and others are living and still have some interaction and life, if you will. And yet here we see a trend line that I see, a trend line of sort of it seems a quickness to judgment in favor of alleging brain death that we haven't seen before. Is that an accurate assessment? Do we see that taking place? Because I know we at Pacific Justice Institute, we had two cases dealing with little infants last year that we handled, where once again it was premature declarations of brain death. Is that something that we see as a trend happening in this country, Kevin? And if so, why?
We do see it as a trend, and we see it sadly. If you want to look at where we're going on this, is look to Belgium and certain parts of Europe. But we are seeing this. Why they're doing that? There is two main reasons. One is the hospitals want to reserve resources for what they think are more deserving patients. And second is there is an issue of organ harvesting that hospitals are interested in.
Organ harvesting, really?
So you can't essentially successfully have a organ harvesting with someone who's biologically dead. And it doesn't work as well. And so, if someone's brain dead, they're still biologically alive. Their heart, lungs, their liver, everything's functioning. So they could go in there and get better organs.
Right, and there's a financial incentive to that, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's not all done for charity.
Right, and this sort of reminds me of this science fiction movie decades ago, where that's what it was all about: was taking people, putting them in a sustained coma, if you will, and then taking out their organs. And I remember at the time seeing that movie thinking, or hearing about the movie thinking, this is crazy. I mean, what civilized society would cheapen human life to the point of just seeing humans as organ farms, if you will, or organ, mines, if you will. So the fact that we're seeing this taking place today should be an alarm with regard to bioethics, and the fact that we're engaging in further advancements in terms of science and technology and even medicine in no way makes us immune to degeneration when it comes to fundamental bioethics, which is what I see taking place here. So we took on this case. We're defending this man. They didn't have the money to defend themselves. Of course, we at Pacific Justice Institute step in. As I understand, he is a migrant from Mexico. And he was working here legally, loving his freedom and liberty and et cetera. And now life is on the line. And we at Pacific Justice Institute have taken a number of steps to protect his life. What exactly is taking place now legally, and where are we at?
Well, after the trial court found that the hospital declared him brain dead, we had to file what's called these emergency stays in the Court of Appeal, and that was temporarily denied, but the court graciously gave us time to file in the California Supreme Court, which we did, and the court did indeed give us a emergency stay while they review this, and they've ordered the hospital to respond. So we're grateful for that, but we've got a lot of work left on this.
Yeah, I know you and the other attorneys at Pacific Justice Institute have put in many hours, late night hours, over the weekends, et cetera, for this case, and because there's a human life on the line. But the fact that we did get the state Supreme Court of California, no less, to go ahead and grant us that relief to sustain his life at this time, I think was a major success that should not be undermined at all as what it is a major success. But we still have a ways to go with this. This is not an easy thing to do. From an evidentiary perspective, Kevin, where are we at? Do we have anything that is still to be determined? Testing, outside experts coming in. To what extent can you give a little bit of a peek of what we're looking at going forward?
Sure. One of the reasons we have wanted to get these stays is so that the family can get a second opinion. And the problem is the hospital and the courts have a system where they want to rush this through. They don't do this for people on death row, but they will for an infant or a retired construction worker and pull the plug on them quickly.
Yes.
So we've got their insurance. It's not an issue of money. Their insurance, medical insurance, will pay for this. So that's really what we're looking for. They're looking to get a second opinion from a neurologist on this gentleman's condition.
Right, and the sad thing is, if the hospital had done this, it would be done. But I mean, the hospital has been rejecting this and is rejecting the need for this, their obligation from if not legally, from a moral, ethical perspective, bioethics perspective. That's very disturbing. What hospital are we talking about, by the way? I want to call them out.
Riverside Community Hospital.
Riverside Community Hospital. Folks, that is one hospital I do not want to be taken to if I am in serious condition. with this kind of a demonstration of bioethics or lack thereof, I find that very, very disturbing. And Kevin, I just appreciate the hard work that you and our other attorneys are putting in on this case. Folks, I want to remind you that we don't charge for this. We're compassionate. We're a loving, compassionate organization when it comes to civil liberties. We handle thousands of requests every year without charge all across the United States, and we do it because of support from people like you. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to enable attorneys like Kevin and other attorneys that we have working for us across the country on very important cases just like this. So, folks, there you have it. It's our God-given freedoms we're talking about. Now, let's choose to keep them. I'm Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute. Have a great weekend.